Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 7, the penultimate week, the second to last week. A lot of you have a lot of work missing and your grades are suffering because of that. Um, I haven't graded the argumentative essay obviously yet, but we'll get that done this week. Please, please, please turn in any and all makeup work. Obviously, the bigger assignments are the ones you want to focus on. Um, Make sure you get that stuff in. The absolute deadline for any makeup work is August 1, so that's coming up pretty soon. And it's a lot of work. Some of you have a lot of makeup work. If you need help or if you want advice, please send me an email and we can talk about your options from there. Um, just so you know, incompletes are not granted on the basis of I didn't do any work all semester and now I'm scrambling to finish at the end. Incompletes, you have to have maintained at least a C average throughout before, and then something has to fall apart at the end. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, moving on to week 7. So this week's experience is entitled, Who is this special person? So in this case, it seems easy, right? Writing about a person you know whose work and or life you're intimately familiar with, it's not a problem. But actually, this is what makes it so difficult. When people are important and familiar to us, we tend to take them for granted as they are simply part of the foundation on which our life is built. We stop seeing them clearly. This is a practical experience, as at some point in your life you may need to honor another person by introducing them to an audience, maybe presenting an award, a best man's or maid of honor speech, a birthday or graduation, introducing a speaker, the foreword to a book, or sadly even maybe a eulogy at some point. All of these could present occasions to pay tribute to a person, so it does have practical value to your own life. So you're writing for people who are interested in hearing about why this person is being honored. A tribute is almost always attached to an occasion that triggers the tribute. So the audience expectations will be inextricably tied to this occasion. You can pretend you have an occasion in this case if you want, or you can just sort of make more of a tribute, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you need to choose the subject and occasion. So choose someone you'd like to honor, and then an occasion that they'll be honored, right? So even if that's a pretend occasion at this point, feel free to do that. And then you're going to analyze your audience. Knowing the person and occasion will help you determine the needs, attitudes, and knowledge of your audience. For instance, if you're going to do like a maid of honor or best man speech, those are often kind of humorous. They kind of poke fun at the the groom or the bride, but they also are kind of endearing and sort of discuss what they mean to you. So keep that in mind when you're writing, and think about who this person is, why are they being honored, and what makes them so special. Okay. I did not leave a length for this one, and some of you have asked who are working ahead about this one. You can, if you really need a word count, 500 words is probably what I would aim for. But keep in mind that some of these are going to be shorter than others, right? If you choose a maid of honor speech, it might be a little longer than, say, I don't know, a retirement party speech or the introduction as a speaker, right? So it really depends on what you're choosing from there, okay? So keep that in mind. These are often meant to be read aloud. You don't have to do that. Obviously, you're just submitting the essay, but before you submit it, it might be a good idea to see how it plays being read aloud. Okay, so that's the fun thing we're doing. The first, you also have a second assignment this week, and it's your final mini experience. If I knew then what I know now. Life brings regrets. It's inevitable. Even the most conscientious person can't avoid mistakes or bad outcomes. And a lot of the time, the negative outcome wasn't even foreseeable because you didn't know enough to realize something bad was lurking around the corner. This is very true of my own college experience. Lots of people assume students know how it's all supposed to work, and this isn't often the case. And bad decisions can be made with in regards to classes that you take or majors that you end up wasting time in or paths that you think that you're going to travel down that ultimately lead to disappointment. The same can be said for relationships, etc. So I do have an example here. So for instance, when I started college, I didn't know that you could just drop a class. So I didn't do very well in college statistics, which if and when you take college stats, you'll see why. I had to get almost all A's to barely scrape by with a B for the semester at the end, um, which was upsetting to me. Later, it's kind of funny because at the start of college, I was very into my grades. By the end, I was much more interested in beer pong, and I didn't really give a shit about grades anymore. And that happens. It's fine. You get the burnout as well. Okay. So anyway, for this experience, you're going to write to your past self. So your audience is you in the past. And you're going to tell that past self something you know now. These can be emotional at times. These can be funny. It's up to you really to decide what you want to do. So you're going to identify a bad outcome that could have been avoided, right? And lead to, that led to a bad result, and you're going to guide yourself into a better result. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then this is going to take the form of a letter, right? So you're going to write a letter to your past self. It should say, dear your name. And, well, don't actually write dear your name, dear, and then actually write your name. And then proceed from there. So these two are both kind of reflective. Hopefully, if you still have work to do on the argumentative essay, these last 2 weeks are kind of, I don't want to say easy, but they are kind of easier. They're writing about yourself or people you know and love and already care about. So keep that in mind if you think that you have rushed maybe your experience 6 and you want to go back and revise it. That's all for this week. I'll have one last message for you next week. Those of you who are ASAP students, a lot of you I will see in the fall for creative writing. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So have a great week, and make sure you get your makeup work in.